Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's stock market recap brought to you by the RMHS Investing Club. Let's take a quick look back at the key movements and headlines from the week of June 23rd through the 28th, 2025. This week was packed with major earning reports, economic data, and market moving news that shaped investors' feelings. I'm Ted Ravens, one of the co founders of RMHS Investing Club.
I'm Will Merkel, another co-founder of the RMHS Investing Club.
I'm Ian Mullen, another co-founder of RMHS Investing Club.
I'm Tyler Marchwick, one of the public relations coordinators of the club.
I'm Luke Rogerson. I'm a club photographer, and together we make up the RMHS Investment Club.
Okay, so we're going to start with talking about the Iran-Israel conflict and the effect of that on the market, as well as the U.S.-China trade tensions. So, starting from the long withstanding regional tensions after World War II, Iran and Israel have been at conflict for a while, but it recently escalated in June 2025, June 13th. Um, and it has escalated even more since then with U.S. involvement and has recently been de-escalated with the ceasefire. But the effects that this had on the market are extreme. Before the U.S. got involved, investors reacted with fear due to oil prices. A lot of the global oil goes through the Middle Eastern section there, and the Gaza Strips and the Gulfs, which could greatly affect oil prices in the U.S. and globally, as well as before the US did get involved, investors um, reacted fearfully that if like how the US would be involved. Um, and so that has since been um, the market has been less volatile after the ceasefire, but we'll see how that continues to develop. Um, as well, moving on to the U.S.-China trade tensions, ongoing concerns over tariffs and trade policies. So, Trump has been trying to impose these tariffs on China, and it's been some of them have been delayed, some of them have been going through. But we'll see how that develops and see how that affects the market. The White House has signed a new trade deal with China, which lifted investor confidence, driving equities to all-time highs. So currently, it's having short-term beneficial effects, but we'll have to see where it goes long-term.
Next, we're going to talk about the major performing stocks and indexes of the past week. First up, Nike, they had a huge jump, up 20%. Even though their sales and profits were a bit lower than last year, they actually beat what Wall Street was expecting. Plus, they gave some good news about how they're turning things around and handling the tariff issues, which got investors really excited. Next, there's Arms Holding, which shot up about 10%, and on Wednesday alone, they jumped more than 24%. That's mostly because President Trump put a 90-day pause on new tariffs, which is great news for tech companies like ARM that are big in global chip market. Next, Boeing did also pretty well, up almost 8%, and analysts gave them a big upgrade, saying that companies could bring in more cash thanks to the increased production of the 737 and 787 planes. However, people are also concerned about the ongoing safety issues with their planes, but this was seen as a step in the right direction for the company. Next, the major indexes. The Nasdaq was up 4.36%, mostly because of the strong performance of tech and AI companies. A lot of them reported better than expected earnings, and people are hopeful that the trade situation with China might improve. There's also talks that the Fed might cut interest rates, which would be really good for the market. Finally, the Dow Jones is up 3.89%. That's thanks to a mix of good earnings reports from many companies, lower inflation, and again, the hope that interest rates might go down soon. Investors also seem a bit more positive about how global trade issues might turn out in the future. Next, we're going to talk about the S&P 500.
The S&P 500 had an outstanding week, closing at a record high index level of 6,173.07. This remarkable week is due to three key factors. Firstly, the information and technology sector did extremely well. This is due to companies like Nvidia, Intel, and Supermicro having like specific standout weeks. Uh, the growth the growth in these companies is due to an increased demand of chips and AI hardware. Along with the information and technology sector doing well, The tensions decreasing in the Middle East also helped with the growth of the S&P 500. This is because the tensions decreasing reduced global uncertainty and lowered the risk of economic disruption. And finally, the energy sector had an extremely high leap year return. This is because energy stocks rallied as oil prices dropped. And initially, oil prices spiked because of tensions in the Middle East, but then dropped as tensions eased. And this ended up really benefiting the S&P 500.
Shifting our focus, let's break down what's been happening across specific major market sectors this quarter. Over the past week, tech stocks such as Nvidia and Microsoft have continued to soar due to AI and microchip demand still growing. Nvidia hit an all-time high price of $158.71 per share. Overall, financials have shown recovery, with interest rates dropping and bond yields decreasing. When bond yields dip, it makes borrowing money from banks more appealing because of the lower interest rates you have to pay back on your loans, which drives economic success. Utilities and industrials have increased during this week as investors have grown more optimistic about government-backed projects such as clean energy initiatives. Finally, many healthcare companies have beaten earnings estimates such as United Healthcare Group. In general, tech continues to be the highest returning sector.
Next, we're going to shift our focus towards the week ahead. This week features a few key earning reports ahead of the Independence Day weekend. Software project reports on Monday with an EPS estimate of $1.30, followed by the Constellation Brands on Tuesday and Unified First on Wednesday. With the EPS estimates of $3.31 and $2.09 respectively. The markets will close early on Thursday, 1 p.m. for stocks and 2 p.m. for bonds, and will remain closed all day Friday in observance of Independence Day.
If you guys are interested in this type of content, we also have a website, rmhsinvestorclub.com, and a TikTok and Instagram as shown on the screen. And we want to thank you for your time and for watching this video. This is Aiden Mullen signing off.